Hello, everyone. Welcome to this next session. Right now, we're going to be talking about our governance, the product vision and roadmap for our governance products and overall portfolio. Thank you so much for joining. I know it's the last day of the conference here, but really appreciate everyone being here and taking a look at our roadmap. We're really excited to show it to you today. So we're looking at the questions during the session. I have my colleagues in here answering those, and for any longer questions, I will take them at the end. We really want this to be an interactive session. We're going to have some polls, so get ready to answer some polls. There's 3 polls in the middle of this session. And yeah, really excited for it to be interactive. Feel free to ask any questions that you want to know the answer to. So let's dive in. First, hello, I am Cattini. I'm a product manager here at Quickbase, and I oversee some of the governance functionality and excited to be talking about that specific roadmap with you all today. In terms of agenda, what are we going to be talking about today? What will we discuss? There's 3 main items that we'll be talking about today. We'll start first, very high level, talk about the governance vision, talk about why governance is even important, why you should implement governance functionality, how that can help your Quickbase usage. Then we will quickly go over how we create our product roadmap. So you'll see what forms the roadmap, where we get all the ideas from, the research that we do. And then lastly, we'll get into the good stuff and talk about 3 areas of product and the roadmap for those areas. So really excited, and let's dive right in. Well, before we dive right in, one more thing I wanted to put up here. This is our safe harbor. So everything that we show today, although it's currently on the roadmap, I just want to mention it might not end up being built in Quickbase. We have to show this in here right before the presentation. So take a quick read of that, just our little disclaimer to start, especially because we're showing a roadmap and future functionality and want to throw the safe harbor up here first. But great, now we can actually dive into the good stuff, and we will start, again, very high level and talk about our governance vision. So for those that aren't familiar with governance or haven't implemented governance functionality in the past, we'll talk about why governance and our framework for that and our center of excellence is important and different ways that you can set that up. So we'll talk about the roadmap, which really is a lot about the product, the actual functionality in Quickbase. But governance is more than that. It is product, but it's also the way that you implement it. It's the practices. It's what we call our center of excellence. So we'll cover that first, just so you can understand governance as a whole. So with that being said, in one sentence, like to boil it down here, what is our governance vision? And I'll read this one sentence right off here. So our vision is designed to align with your organization's need for strong governance while simultaneously empowering your employees. That's our one sentence vision, very high level if we were to boil it down, and that's what our governance vision is all about. So really want to focus on here with strong governance. We want to provide governance capabilities that allow you to govern strongly and as strictly, but we also want to make sure that we're empowering your employees along the way. And all of the functionality and all of the frameworks that you'll see coming very shortly will follow this vision as well. Diving one level deeper, we'll also talk about the Quickbase governance framework and why it ties in with operational agility. So I've heard operational agility, a huge part of Quickbase, the value of Quickbase that it can bring. It can allow you to move quickly and have rapid cycle innovation. I'm sure you've heard a lot about the operational agility. We believe that governance is a key part of the operational agility as well. So before we even dive into the governance framework, I want to talk about why the governance framework is so important, especially to this operational agility. So we call our governance framework the Center of Excellence. It is a framework to manage and, as I mentioned, administer rapid cycle innovation efforts, and it focuses mainly on key governance ideas, or completely on key governance ideas, I should say. Our customers, leading organizations, they use this Center of Excellence, we call it the COE here, to ensure that their digital transformation efforts are rolled out smoothly, done well at scale, and Quickbase is really rolled out in a responsible and scalable, safe way. And creating an effective Center of Excellence will allow you to build and grow digital transformation. And again, the most important part, improve your operational agility, which is what Quickbase is all about. Again, we're not talking about product yet. This is a product roadmap. We will definitely get into that, but do want to mention very high level first, why governance is important, why the framework is important, how all of the functionality that you'll see in the 3 areas we'll dive very deep into, how it all ties back into the value of Quickbase, and again, how it can help with that operational agility. Anything we build, we want to make sure definitely aligns with that. We'll go over the Quickbase governance framework. I'm sure there are other sessions that go into this on a much deeper level, but if you haven't seen those, let's talk about our Quickbase governance framework. So this is the center of excellence. This is what it looks like. That's what I was referencing on the last slide. And this is what can help build a strong governance program or platform in your Quickbase realm. It's made up here of 5 different pieces. We'll talk about where all of the functionality lies in here. So everything that we're building, everything on the roadmap does belong in one of these areas on the framework here, either in the application lifecycle management or the security policies area. And here at the bottom, you can already see all the functionality that we have. We've already built, we're continuing to build and improve on. That all ties back into the Quickbase governance framework. So now moving a little bit more into our strategy, not focusing on governance so high level, we'll talk about the pillars of our governance strategy specifically relating to the product and what our priorities are when we're building and thinking about items that we should build for our customers. So you will see these themes throughout the 3 product areas we will dive deeply into, and they're extremely important for us to provide to you all as customers because we think this can really help you govern your Quickbase environment and then, again, have that increased operational agility that can help that Quickbase provides. So first, we want to provide an unmatched level of control across your ecosystem. We are already providing this with some of the governance tools we have, but we want to make that an unmatched level. We want to make sure that as someone that's governing a Quickbase instance, you have the ability to turn on or off different items. You have the ability to control your users. You have the ability to really have a level of control that allows you to feel like you're governing Quickbase in a successful way. So that's number 1 and very important. And you'll see that theme again throughout the product areas that we'll talk about. Secondly, we also want to provide increased visibility and understanding of Quickbase. So although second, this is just as important and kind of matches in with number 1 here. So as someone that governs Quickbase, we also want to provide you with understanding of what's going on in your Quickbase realm. So what are users doing? What are applications doing? What is the whole realm looking like? We want to give you this visibility so you can have more knowledge of what's going on with your Quickbase and then can make better informed governance decisions. So those are the 2 important areas that you'll see flow down to all the rest of the roadmap, but those are really the pillars of our governance strategy that we stick by and want to provide to you all that are governing Quickbase realms. So great, that is very high level, the governance vision. Feel free to put any questions in the chat about that if you have them. But now we'll dive into the second area here, which is all about how we create our roadmap. So based on the vision, we take that and then we actually create our roadmap. And this is going to be very quick. We'll go over this, very quickly so we can get into the real good meat of the presentation here. But did want to shed some light on how we form the roadmap and how important really customer feedback is to the roadmap. So these are the roadmap inputs. We have a number of inputs that we get, but these are really the main 3 that inspire and inform our roadmap. And I would say beyond anything, number 1 here, customer feedback, is the thing that really informs the roadmap to the greatest level. So we're always completing constant and thorough research with customers. Maybe I've actually spoken to some of you that are on the line here. If not, I will definitely have to reach out and speak to you in the future. But that's really important to us, is customer feedback. We have a number of different channels that we have, and we take that feedback seriously and listen to it as well. Secondly, we make sure that anything we build on the roadmap aligns with our product strategy, the product vision that we just saw. We want to make sure what we're building is cohesive, it makes sense, it aligns with the strategy. We're not building anything that is completely outside of the strategy and not for our target audience and doesn't make sense. So that's also something that impacts the roadmap as well, informs the roadmap. And then lastly, this really relates to the top two here, but we're always making data-driven decisions. So we use data to make a lot of our decisions. So of course, we're taking customer feedback, anecdotal feedback. That's extremely valuable, but we're also making data-driven decisions as well. So we have a number of tools that show us how many individuals are using which product, the rates of adoption, the feedback on those products, and we really use that data to validate a course of action before we commit to it. So everything you've seen here has included all of these three inputs into the roadmap, especially the customer feedback. I definitely want to highlight that one. We listen to that quite a bit here. Speaking of customer feedback, one thing I do want to show here is we listen to a lot of feedback. So if you're sending in feedback, we're definitely looking at it. It doesn't go unnoticed. Please send even more. We love to see it, and it really does help inform the roadmap. And here are just some high-level numbers of how impactful that feedback is. Of course, we're completing individual research, and again, maybe I've spoken to some of you here on the line, but we also have ways we can automate the feedback, and just quickly want to highlight this. So we have over 50 plus surveys in the app. Maybe you've seen those surveys, maybe you've answered them. Thank you for doing that, and we're always reading those. We also have a user voice tool, and we have over 3,000 ideas that have been submitted in user voice. Again, thank you for submitting those. We read all of those, and we make sure to definitely put those into the roadmap as well. And then just on one survey we've sent out, we've actually had over 6,000 responses. So again, we have so much feedback. Thank you so much for sending that in. We read all of it. And again, that's really what has informed the roadmap and the items that you'll see moving forward. Really impactful. The last thing we want to show is that we want to create a whole and comprehensive roadmap. Here are some of the items that we want to inform our whole and comprehensive roadmap. I also love this visual of a funnel because we do get so much feedback, and we do have to narrow it down into a whole and comprehensive roadmap. But this is just a very quick visual into how we're taking in the customer feedback. Of course, analysts. I don't think I've mentioned analysts yet, but we're listening to the market and talking to the analysts. And of course, we have our company strategy. And that is what creates our whole and comprehensive roadmap. But great, that very quickly, as I mentioned, was the how we create our roadmap. Don't want to go into that too deeply. I know you're all waiting to see the product roadmap. So without further ado, I will dive right into that. And again, we have 3 areas of product that we will focus on today and talk about and let you know what we're thinking about in the future in terms of what we want to build. So when we think of the roadmap, there are different stages of planning, and we want to be completely transparent with you all today and really all of the time when we're sharing our roadmap, and let you know exactly where in the roadmap process each of these products live. And we have a way to tag those or put them in different stages. This is also consistent with the roadmap that we send out on a monthly basis. So if you've ever seen that, you'll be familiar with these different stages that we have. So we have different stages. Again, the first here is recently released, and that is something that has been released in the past 6 months or so, and that is in your Quickbase realm. So in terms of will that get done, 100%. That is recently released. Maybe you've already been using it. The next we have in progress. So that is functionality that the engineering team is actually working on right now. Hands on keyboards working on it. You will see that come to you shortly in beta or a GA very shortly. After that, we have stages that are a little bit less defined, and they may not end up being built by Quickbase for any reason. Again, we have that safe harbor, but still want to talk about these today. And I just want to let you know in transparency that they're a little bit fuzzier when we get out to these stages. So we have up next, that's functionality that is actively being researched and it's considered to be worked on or not. And then after that, we have exploring. So again, a little bit fuzzier. functionality that is at the beginning of the research process, may be worked on in the future, not yet defined. So want to be super clear about those stages. You'll see where each of the roadmap items are with those stages, and I'll make sure to call that out. I also want to mention really quickly that if there's anything you don't see on the roadmap or in these 3 areas, that doesn't mean we're not working on it. So any kind of delighters, small pieces of work, smaller pieces of work, I should say, that we could do, any, of course, bugs that may come up, we're always working on those. We're not going to talk about those today. Those are a little bit one level down than we'll talk about today. But just because it's not in this presentation doesn't mean that it's not going to be worked on. So just want to put that out there as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any specific questions about items on the roadmap that you're not seeing today. I'm happy to answer those. So great, that's again my little disclaimer, but let's dive right in. So the first area we'll be talking about today is our strategy and our product roadmap for ALM. That's our application lifecycle management and our sandbox tool. So where does ALM live? If you don't know what ALM is, we can talk about that. And where does Sandbox live in the overall governance framework and the strategy? So ALM and Sandbox is an extremely important part of application lifecycle management and maintaining your application anywhere in between creation and deletion. So if you are making any modifications on an application, if you are adding a field, if you're making large changes, that is all application lifecycle management. And we want to make sure that we're giving you a tool to allow you to execute that in the best way. As you can see here, application lifecycle management, I just zoomed in a little bit. It is a major part of our Center of Excellence. Again, relating back to the vision that we talked about at the beginning here, and it's a core component of the Center of Excellence. So very important that we provide this functionality to you all. In terms of what we have right now, we'll first cover the functionality that we have right now, what we're going to do with that current functionality and where we're going to extend that in the future. But what we have right now is our sandbox tool. So some of you on the line may have used it. You may be thinking about using it, but Quickbase Sandbox, the tool that we have native in each application, you can turn it on or off, is there to support line of business-led development while still maintaining best practices required by an IT organization. So if you haven't used Sandbox or aren't familiar with it, it's a really great place, a safe area that you can copy down from production to make changes in and then put back into production or promote back into production after you have done tests on it in a safe environment, you feel comfortable with those changes, and you move those back into production. Again, the sandbox that we have currently is really all about business-led development. It does help you maintain best practices that you may have with your IT organization. But again, it's very business-led, and it's all about the builder having quick access to making changes and building their applications for what the line of business needs. This is what we're talking about with Sandbox today again. Again, business-led development, I think I just talked about that, but definitely want to highlight that is the track, and that is the area where we focused on Sandbox today. Again, focusing on those builders, focusing on individuals that need a safe area, but also want to make changes quickly. Again, relates back to that rapid cycle development and that operational agility. And it's an integral part of any governance strategy regarding change management. Again, that safe area to modify and test your application outside of production. Current offering that we have, a number of customers are using it. You can see we have over 5,000 Sandbox created and used since it was created just early last year. Almost 500 customers using Sandbox. That's great. And if you have used it, thank you for using it. Definitely open to any feedback. Again, over 800 individuals at those customers have used it. And we've also surveyed and interviewed. It says dozens here, but it's much more than dozens. We've interviewed those individuals as well that have used it and again are making those data-driven decisions. So that's our current Sandbox offering. I've really repeated and highlighted the business-led development. But the reason I'm doing that is because the future of sandbox development is all about providing different approaches to our customers. And not only providing the business-led development, the native sandbox in the UI per application that we have now, but also providing functionality that caters to a more traditional software development lifecycle process. And rather than just focusing on one type of individual, one persona, we really want to expand Sandbox and allow those that maybe more technical, maybe want to see a more traditional process, also use Sandbox as well. So we really want to expand that, bring that to a new audience, bring more functionality, and we think we can do that through a traditional software development lifecycle process. So before I dive in, talk about that traditional area more, want to note we see the exploring here in the top right-hand corner. We're exploring this idea. If we go back to the stages, that is where that exists, but something we've definitely been thinking about and we want to provide, again, to a new type of sandbox user that we have. At the same time, I'll skip back here to the business-led development. We still want to improve the current sandbox offering. So through all those individuals that have been surveyed or interviewed or have given feedback, we still want to improve the current sandbox offering we present. We're not giving up. We're not going to work on that business-led development. We still want to provide that functionality and make it better for builders every single day. So that's something we're going to be focusing on, as well as expanding it to a traditional software development lifecycle process potentially. And with that traditional software development lifecycle process, we want to create a more flexible, a more extensible sandbox for our larger customers, enterprise customers, potentially even extending that outside of Quickbase. So you may not have to use the UI native in Quickbase anymore to access a sandbox. We want to make it more extensible and flexible so you can test and you can create your own environment the way that you need it. So again, exploring a very high level there, but do want to talk about, we want to provide both approaches to our customers, and we're excited to do that. So again, if there's any questions about that, feel free to throw them in the chat and we can definitely discuss that. But here's one last thing we want to talk about with expanding Sandbox. And it's really all about breaking Sandbox out of the Quickbase environment. So I think I talked about this before, flexible, extensible. We definitely want to make that a possibility. You can potentially use an external software development lifecycle vendor with Sandbox in the future. We're thinking about providing APIs to do that. So you're, again, not in the Quickbase UI and using that UI if that doesn't make sense for you as a certain type of user. So we definitely want to extend that, and we're thinking of different ways to do that. And again, open to any feedback that you have about this as well. So now, with that being said, we have our first poll that I promised that we would work on here. I think you guys can all see this poll now. So I just talked about the way that we want to improve Sandbox. But if anyone here in the audience has ever used Sandbox or you're thinking about using Sandbox, I want to ask you guys a question and hopefully get some feedback. And please be honest. So my question is, what has stopped you from using Sandbox in the past? What can we build to help with this here? So feel free to put your answers in this chat box. I will wait for you to put your answers in for about a minute here, and we'll definitely take this feedback in. Maybe I'll put my own feedback in here as well. And let me know if it's not working for anyone as well in the Q&A or in the chat. I want to make sure that these polls are working okay here. Oops. Sorry, guys. All right. It seems like I cannot see your answers here. Or maybe no one has put their answers. Oh, I'm sorry. This is, let's see what we can do here. So you know what? We have 2 more polls. I will bring this back at the end to see if it works. I'm so sorry if you put your answers in here. Definitely feel free to put them in the Q&A. Either way, we'll definitely grab those. But let's move on here. We have 2 more polls, fingers crossed for those. Let's see if those work better for us. But great, so now let's dive into the next section, and that is going to be all about governing pipelines. So again, we talked about Sandbox, but now we want to switch it here and talk about pipelines. So a completely different part of the product, still important though when it relates to our operational agility, relates to our governance framework, and we want to provide more capabilities to help you govern pipelines because it is such an important part of Quickbase, and I'm sure some of you are using it here already. So as you saw in the keynote, pipelines is an important part of Quickbase. Just mentioned about the connections. It really helps you connect Quickbase to external areas. So external platforms, of course, that's crucial as a part of operational agility. Want to make sure that Quickbase really is a part of that ecosystem and can connect to your larger systems and help with that rapid cycle innovation, as well as create automation in Quickbase. So also with the Quickbase channel, it's helpful that Quickbase, of course, can have that automation right inside of the realm here as well. So pipeline's an important part. It is one of the main 4 pillars that we have, and that's why we've decided to focus governance and really create stronger and better governance for our pipelines because it is such an important part of Quickbase. We want to allow you to have more control over it and feel more confident when you are using pipelines, of course, every single day. So again, boiling down into one sentence, really simplifying here, we believe that pipelines is the future for extending Quickbase into the core technologies that you have. So the other platforms that you have through integration, of course, that's what pipelines is all about. And really governing these integrations is crucial for their success. So pipelines is crucial for your Quickbase usage. Governing the pipelines is crucial for their success. And that's why we focused on the governing of pipelines. And that's why we're going to be talking about what we have on the roadmap here moving forward. Also not mentioned here, again, is the automation that can move within one Quickbase realm. Of course, that is also included in here, that quick channel also included here. So now let's talk about our governance vision and the pillars that we have for our pipelines product specifically. So these are the 2 pillars that really drive what we're going to build in pipelines, and they're extremely important, and you'll see them really cascade down into what we're planning on building and providing in pipelines. The first here is greater granular control. So we want to provide to you that are providing pipelines to others in your organization, greater granular control over each channel, each user, each group that you have in pipelines. So really wanting you to have more control over who can access pipeline, who can access a channel. Right now we do have control, but we want to break it down one level more and allow you to have more confidence if you are opening up a channel, or more confidence if you are opening up pipelines in your realm to start off with. We want to break it down so you know exactly where your step runs are being used and if they're being used in the best way. So that's very important. Secondly, we also want to increase pipelines visibility, usage visibility. So again, in line with the overall governance strategy pillars that we have, we want to provide visibility. That's extremely important for pipelines as well. So we want to give you, as an administrator, the ability to see where pipelines are being used, who's using what pipeline, what channels are being used, how many step runs are being used, etc. You can see there's so much information that you can gather from pipelines to understand more, and that will help you make better decisions moving forward. So definitely an important pillar, an important part, and we'll show you what we have that relates to that as well. So very important. So that being said, we'll talk about how we're first going to focus on greater granular control with our granular channel control. So again, this is up next. So higher in that stages that we have. We actually already have a UI working on it, and it's exciting because on the right-hand side here, we see that we already have a UI mockup for what we're talking about. So granular channel control, what exactly is this? It's really giving pipelines custom channel access per individual or per group. So we want to give selective control over who, and who can be a user or a group, who has access to which channels, and who can create pipelines with those channels. So again, one level down of control, allowing you to not only turn pipelines on for an individual, but allow you to turn each channel on for an individual as well. And in this screenshot here, you can see we have our channels box and Salesforce. Per individual, we can pick, do you want to turn box on? Do you want to turn Salesforce on? Do you want to turn both on? It's really breaking down the control at the channel level. So we're excited about that. Again, up next, so already in UI, been extensively researched, probably talked to some of you here in the audience about that already, and we're really excited to talk about that and release that potentially in the future. The one thing I'll say is we would love any feedback to understand what we can do to a greater degree with this granular control. This channel control is just one area. So just the start of how we can help you control and really, I don't want to say lock down, but just have more control over who you allow to access different channels or different areas in Quickbase relating to pipelines. So we'd love any feedback on that. Again, we're just getting going with this more granular control. So that's very exciting. I hope you guys are excited as well. Secondly, what I'll move to, so we're not going to stop there with what we have for pipelines in the up next area, but what we also want to show is that visibility. So that second pillar that we just talked about, we're also providing functionality to help with that. And that's called our My Pipelines page. So this is on an individual level, but we are showing on an individual level which pipelines you have created, which pipelines you have. You can name them, you can tag them. You can see, I'm just zooming in here, you can see how many step runs you have. You can see how much they're being used and the trends over time for the step runs. So really great visibility, so you can see exactly what's going on with each channel here, so, or each pipeline you've created. So really exciting, providing more visibility. Again, doing that on our My Pipelines page. The one thing I will say about the My Pipelines page and just the general visibility in total is that this is providing it on an individual level. So this is what you're looking at. What we also want to do in the future is provide functionality for a realm administrator or for someone that is governing pipelines to be able to see this information, but across the entire realm. Some of platform analytics, which I'm sure you saw in the keynote or you've seen different sessions on, will provide that information, but we want to break that down even more, show you as a realm administrator all the different pipelines you have, all the channels that are there connected to the activity, really giving you an overall view of what's going on. So that's also, I'd say, more in the exploring phase if we want to talk about our phases, our stages, but that's something we're also taking a look at as well. Definitely to provide that visibility to the realm administrator. That's crucial and a part of our governance vision, 100%. So again, any feedback on that would be greatly appreciated. We're researching that now very actively, or I'm researching that now very actively. So definitely any feedback on that would be welcome as well. So great, that is pipelines, very high level with the vision there. Again, hope you're excited about the two different pieces of functionality that we have that align with our pillars. But now we have a new poll. So fingers crossed this poll works here. I would love to see your guys' feedback and make sure this works. But really, what kind of controls would most help you govern and use pipelines better? So would it be A, channel control for individual users? What we just talked about, that granular channel control, so turning on specific channels for individual users. That same control for groups. That same control for email or domain group. So if you're not using groups in Quickbase, could we set that up for email domain group? Or do you want to have channel control for certain realms or external URLs attached to vendors that you're using? So definitely feel free. I believe this is a multi-select, so feel free to select how many you need. I'll give you guys here a minute or so to check these off. And yeah, thank you for taking this poll. I think it's working this time, which is great. Great, I'm seeing the results come in. This is awesome. We'll give it maybe 20 more seconds here. I want to make sure you guys are getting your answers in. And if there's anyone from Quickbase, definitely feel free to put your answers in here as well. Great. So thank you guys. What I will do here is now push the results. Feel free to get your answers in the last second here, and I will push the results so you can see exactly how your colleagues here on this session voted. So no surprise, it looks like channel control for individual users, important, channel control for groups, a close second, email domain, as I suspected, a little bit lower, and then same with realm and external URL. So we'll definitely save this poll. We'll keep this information. Thanks for voting on that. And yeah, I think the way that we planned this on the roadmap already, it's definitely going to be focused on the channel control for individual users and groups, definitely to start. So I'm glad that's consistent with what you have voted as well. So I appreciate that. And I'm glad that poll worked. We have one more. Great. So moving forward here to the last item, the last piece of product, I should say, that we have in our roadmap. We're going to be talking about platform analytics. So if you were in the keynote, you saw platform analytics. We talked about it. It's generally available currently for all customers on our new plans. And it's really exciting for the Realm administrator. We now have this new piece of functionality to them that really provides the visibility that we've been talking about, lets them understand what's going on in their Quickbase environment, and really aligns with those pillars that we're talking about with our governance vision. So we're really excited about this and hope if you do have access to it, you're already using platform analytics. Really quickly before we talk about the current state of platform analytics and the future in terms of what's on the roadmap, want to talk about how platform analytics, again, aligns with the overall governance vision, why it's important, why it helps with the center of excellence and the operational agility, everything we covered at the beginning, and why, if you use the platform analytics, why it can be really helpful for you that you have. So platform analytics is all about using the data that you already have inside of your Quickbase instance, activity users are already taking, activity versus apps that is already taking place, and using that data to power your business. So it can be extremely powerful. Once you have that data, you have one central location to see it and ingest it, to use it to really power your business. It allows you to visualize the data you already have in your platform. So we'll show you what platform analytics looks like and how it really presents the data to you in easy to use graphs. The UI, I think, is beautiful on it, if any UI can be beautiful. And then again, through the increased visibility, that'll allow you to gain knowledge and help you control how to best manage your Quickbase realm. So again, through visibility is more knowledge and then more better informed decisions for your governance strategy. So that's exciting. So let's take a look and see what platform analytics looks like, and exciting that it is already recently released. So in our stages, this has been released to those customers on our new plans. And this is what platform analytics is looking like. So with platform analytics, admins can now see and understand the value their users are experiencing, and they can really see and understand so much more than that as well. And this is the experience that you'll have with platform analytics, and we're calling it a 2-page experience. So on the first page, there is our dashboard. So again, delivering the data to the admins that log into the admin console, maybe first thing in the morning. They can see this data, it's delivered right to them. They don't have to dig around for this data and look for it and search for it. It's delivered right to you in these dashboard cards, and it's extremely easy to understand and ingest. So that's one goal of platform analytics here, and it's really easy for the realm administrators to see it and understand what's going on, again, in one central area. What we also have with the 2-page experience is our drill down page. So that's the screenshot you see in the back here, and that is taking a look at any of the metrics on the first page. So if you want to take a look at your daily app users, you want to take a look at your file attachment space, or any of the metrics you have on the first page here, and you want to drill down and dive in and see that one level deeper, you can see that. So for example, you can see daily app users over a certain period of time. You can see if that has increased, decreased. You can see which application those app users are using the most. And in this one case, just really helping you understand what your users are doing. Again, this is helpful. It does tie back into that governance framework, because one of the items in that framework is to measure and make sure your Quickbase is providing value. One of the ways you can measure value and understand if Quickbase is being beneficial is seeing how many users log in. If that's increasing, that's providing more value. Decreasing, maybe not, but now you have one central place to understand that and know what's going on before you make any decisions. And you have an easy way to access those KPIs. That's a really important part of the governance framework. So that's exciting. Again, recently released. This is generally available, we're excited to say. So if you do have access to this, definitely get in there and use it. And again, would love any feedback. We're 100% open to the feedback here. Great. So the last thing we'll talk about in terms of platform analytics and really analytics in general is our app analytics. So again, if you saw the keynote, this was the very last part of the keynote here, talked about a sneak peek of this app analytics. And this is really the future of Quickbase analytics. And today we'll be talking about it one level deeper here. So again, we're exploring this area in terms of the stages, and this is what it will look like for our app analytics with this UI here that we're excited to show to you. But this is what it's going to look like. So essentially what app analytics is, in the most simplest forms, is bringing down the information that we have in platform analytics, all of those valuable metrics about users, about usage, about file attachment space, etc., much more than that, and bringing it down to the app level. So now not only will the realm administrators see what's going on, but also app owners will have that same level of app analytics, on their application. So that's exciting. The one thing we're also excited about for app analytics, and we think can really provide maybe the most value from this one page here, is also showing the information that is moving in and out of an application. And you can see that here on the right-hand side of the screenshot. But for this application we're calling Quickbase Customer Central. You can actually see the connections and the data that is moving into that application and the data that is moving out of that application. And that can be incredibly powerful, so you understand where that application lives in the ecosystem, what it's connected to, where data is moving in and out of. That's something you may not see or understand off the bat right now with Quickbase applications. We definitely want to provide this level of insight to you in the future. So very excited about app analytics. Again, bringing this type of information, not just in the admin console, not just for administrators, but really spreading this out to the app owners, something we're very excited about in the future. So more to come on that. Again, a sneak peek, I will call that, but that's definitely the future of the analytics that we're seeing here. So great. If there's any questions about that, definitely feel free to throw those in the channel and I will answer those. So that being said, we will wrap up with one more poll. think I know how to use these now. And this is a single select. So feel free to answer this. So what metrics or information would be most helpful for you to see in the app analytics page? Would it be what we talked about, which is data moving in and out of an application? Would it be user activity, so seeing how many daily app users there are in this application and seeing that over time? Would it be looking at file attachment space and limits of an application? Would it be other? And if it is other, feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to ping me after if you would like. I'll give you guys a minute or so here to fill out this poll. Thank you. Great, looks like some answers are coming in. Let me know if you're having any troubles with the poll. And yeah, again, if you've voted other, definitely feel free to put that in the chat or even the Q&A if that's what you have access to. I can see both of those. Great. So I'll give you guys a few more seconds here and then I will show the results. So feel free to get your last votes in here. And here are the results. So interesting. So we see that there's actually most individuals looking for user activity on the app level. That is interesting. I actually thought it would be the data moving in and out of an application. That's great to see that feedback. Close second, data moving in and out of an application. That's great. That makes a lot of sense. And then we also have other. No surprise, file attachment space limits, 0. I wasn't rooting for that one myself, but we also have other here. So thanks for voting. Again, we'll take this down. I'm going to send this to my colleague that is working on the app analytics, and we can work through that as well. So great, that is the last thing that we have for today. If there are any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm happy to answer those live right now. Otherwise, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. And feel free to find me on Slack if you guys would like, and we can definitely chat as well. Great. While we're waiting for some questions, I have some questions here I would like to answer. Maybe you guys are wondering these. So there's an area of product we didn't talk about today. So one of the questions I've gotten previously is, are there any plans to work on data classification / data governance capabilities? And I can answer that question if you all are interested. So that's a good question. I've gotten that question previously. And the answer is yes. So it wasn't one of the product areas we highlighted today. It wasn't, the platform analytics or the sandbox or the pipelines today, but we're still thinking about and we're still working on how to improve data classification, also how to improve all of our data governance capabilities that we have. There's another session all about that. So that's why we didn't include it in this session today. For brevity's sake, didn't want to put you through a whole nother section, but yeah, we're still looking into that. That's incredibly important, especially for our enterprise customers. And that's an item on the roadmap. I'd say number 4 on the roadmap if we were thinking about ranking what we had here today. And then another question I got actually from a session on Tuesday was, are there any plans to work on the audit log in the roadmap? And during that session, I said, check out the roadmap presentation. So I want to make sure I'm answering that question. So right now, we don't have anything on the roadmap to improve or change our audit logs. So that's no in terms of any planned work. Again, if that changes, if any feedback changes, it becomes more urgent, we're happy to take a look at that and change that. But currently, no changes, no plans to significantly change what we have with our audit logs currently. Again, as I mentioned, if there's any kind of small delighters we can do on it, small improvements, bug fixes, of course, we will always work on those. But nothing substantial with audit log in the plans today. Great, so it looks like the questions have been answered in the chat already. And with that, I will let you guys go. Again, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. And have a nice rest of your conference and then Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.